Welcome, everyone, all you Dumbo Bryans. Welcome, Eric, Henry, probably not Megan, but Eric, you can play this part for her and I will welcome her too. I welcome you, Megan. Those are the members of Eric's family, and here's their address. Just kidding. I would never do that. Probably. Welcome everyone to this episode of, excuse me, Marshall Does a Podcast. Here on the Cinema Lounge, it is, just like last time we did something like this, it is past midnight, and it is today. So this episode goes up in very soon, and here's the circumstances. I am going to Columbia soon. How exciting. So I got my booster. I probably would have anyway, but I got my booster and then I felt gross and sick. So we were going to record on Sunday. It is Monday night, technically Tuesday morning. Got boosted on Saturday, felt sick, called in sick Sunday, did not record on Sunday, and did not, try to organize anything for this morning. So here I am, trying to record something real quick for the day, for the episode, for the podcast. And so here it is. So last time this happened, you all know what I did. I went through all of the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And what did I do, everyone? Let's say it together. Yes, I ranked them. I ranked them from the least best to the best. And I did that, and it was good. And at some point, I'm going to go back and look at my list there and add all of Phase 4 up to the current time. I might do that at the end of Phase 4, which I think is Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't remember. I'll look it up. I'll find out. And that'll include all the TV shows as well. So that'll be a hefty list. But today, what I'm going to do is start the second in this. What I'm going to start as basically a series of every time this happens, then I need to record an episode really late of just ranking franchises as a whole. So in the superhero theme, I am this episode going to do the DC Extended Universe, the DCEU, which just comprises all of the films. That's right, not the TV shows, not the CW shows, not the HBO shows, just the films of the DC universe, starting with Man of Steel and ending at the current time with James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So we'll talk about all the things from there to now, and I will rank them. There's notably, far fewer of those than there are of the Marvel universe. So this is probably going to be a shorter episode because I also don't know that I have a lot to say about most of these. If we were talking every DC movie ever, which is a podcast that you could check out, then I would obviously have more to say because there would be a lot more things to talk about. But I don't, and we're not, and there isn't. But yeah, welcome everyone. By the way, I don't know if I said that. Welcome everyone to, usually Cinema Lounge. This episode, Marshall Does a Podcast, the official podcast of The Great Scubdo, the YouTube channel that I'm starting to actually get to, as well as Twitch, which has been renamed King Scubdo. I'm going to start doing stuff, some regular streams. You can check me out there. How exciting. So, without further ado, still feeling a little sicky, but I'm okay, guys. Don't worry. I've got vitamins, I think. So, without further ado, let's do this thing. So the first movie in the DC Cinematic Universe is Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder, written by David S. Goyer, story by David S. Goyer and Christopher Nolan. So David Goyer also helped with the creation of the Dark Knight movies. And Chris Nolan was also, I think he was a producer on all of these at a certain point, most of these at least. Yep, there we go. He's in there as a producer for Man of Steel. This movie gets more flack than it deserves. It's not great, but it's not bad. I really, really love the Chris Reeve Superman, the classic OG Superman, just as a big Superman fan, that I feel like fits the character a lot more than the very edgy, dark Zack Snyder take. I think there's really cool things that he did in this one, things that I would not have done, things that frustrate me, namely the attitude of Jonathan Kent in this, as opposed to in, the comics or in the Chris Reeve version. I don't know. You could say that it's a more realistic take on the character, but I'm not sure how interested in that I am. I think at the time, this is 2013 when this came out. This came out a year after the Avengers. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is well established at this point, and their tone is very well established to being very comic booky and very light. So I think that clearly, also evidenced by The Amazing Spider-Man, which came out the previous year, the other people, the other production companies, studios, were very clearly trying to differentiate themselves from the MCU as opposed to just being the same. So they tried to go this darker route, like in The Amazing Spider-Man, this more grounded route, like in both of these movies. And I think in both cases, it doesn't really pay off. These movies, both Amazing Spider-Man and Man of Steel, have their diehard fans, and people are coming around to Amazing Spider-Man now more than ever. But I don't know. Man of Steel isn't bad. I think there's more good than bad in it, but I don't love it. And it also just started this whole Snyder movement that I cannot sanction the buffoonery. I'm sure that I'll rant about Zack Snyder, and not about Zack Snyder as much as his horrific, toxic fans at some point in this, but they will not be now. But for now, since this is the first movie, I'm just going to put that at number 1, Man of Steel. There we go. Number 2, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, 2016. This came out 3 years later. 3 years later. That's kind of wild. That's a long amount of time when you're used to a Marvel movie 3 Marvel movies a year, usually. It's just crazy. I mean, both of those are insane. 3 a year and 1 every 3 years. Both insanity. But Zack Snyder also directed this one. It was written by Chris Terrio and David Goyer. Produced by Charles Roven and Deborah Snyder, wife of Zack Snyder. Notable thing that I only kind of realized when looking at this list is that Zack Snyder did not write any of these movies. Like he has story credits on his Justice League and, the other one technically too, but he doesn't have actual, and I guess he has story credits on Wonder Woman as well, but he didn't actually do the screenwriting for any of them. So this idea that he's this auteur, genius, amazing filmmaker who can do no wrong is kind of weird to me when he didn't actually write any of these movies, as much as just have like a story outline and then someone else did the work. So I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too hard about that, but also maybe his fans think too hard about everything. Or they don't think at all. Hard to say. Back to the point, Dawn of Justice, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, came out in 2016, and I distinctly remember going to the theater to see this movie with the original Ben of the podcast, Ben Weber, and we left the theater at the end and just both have this distinct thought of, well, was that bad? Seems like that was bad. Was that bad? I think that was bad. And I kind of still think that, I don't know, man. I mean, you can listen back to our episodes. We did episodes on Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman back before Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. And then we did our episode on the Snyder Cut for that. And I think that we talked mostly about how like they're better than we remember. And then as a unit, they are better than we remember as well. But it just like, we're stuck in this universe that is just so like This one, it's weird how fast these movies go from being like, we're going to have our gritty, grounded Superman. It's going to be super realistic. It's going to be like if Superman was in the real world. Like, what would that be like? If Superman was in the real world that we live in. And then in the next one, we have, you know, Doomsday and silly Lex Luthor and Batman. And it gets much more comic booky. And the plot doesn't necessarily work. Like, none of these characters are the kind of people that would just be blinded by rage and not talk to each other. Even these versions of them, it just doesn't make sense that they wouldn't just talk to each other and not fight. Like superhero movies, any kind of, even in the comics where it's like Civil War, X-Men versus the Avengers, whatever, all of these things, superheroes fighting superheroes, it never really works because there's not a single one of those where it doesn't betray the character of those heroes in some way. The first Civil War is kind of debatable at a certain point. You can, at the beginning, it works, and then Tony very clearly becomes a villain at a certain point, which is just so not him. At least not in that story. It doesn't make sense. But every time you try to do one of these hero fight hero crossover things, it just doesn't work because it's just not something these characters would do. They would talk it out. They would figure it out. They would figure out what to do with that. And it just always ends up being, we fight for a little bit and then we're friends again. And oh, there's a bigger enemy that we need to fight. And I'm just so uninterested in that. I'm so uninterested in that constant recurring trope. Like Batman versus Superman, who would win? It doesn't matter. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I know what I think. I know who I think would win. I love Superman. I think Batman would win. Different writers would write that story differently, and that's happened more than once, many times in the comics, and it's happened differently multiple times in the comics. And I would say the comics would be the definitive ranking of that, not any movie. So if the idea is that we're going to see what it is and there's going to be a definitive winner, then cool, I guess, but like, for why? For what purpose does this serve? It doesn't serve the story at all. This movie doesn't go anywhere with that. Like, they just fight because they're both stupid idiots who don't talk to each other, and then they talk to each other in it's the dumbest conceit that, you know, where you have to save Martha. Why are you saying you have to save Martha? Save my mother. Like, it doesn't. And then that's like the reasoning is that reminded Bruce, not that the mothers have the same name. No. Which I would forgive that more, honestly. But that when Lois says, it's his mother is Martha, that, and I apologize to Amy Adams for that stupid voice I just did, that reminds Bruce that tells Bruce that he has humanity, that he has a mother, that he has family. It doesn't. It's stupid. And we should just have them work together. The only time I've ever seen this like hero anti like friendship relationship work is when Batman and Superman meet for the first time in the animated shows. It's in Superman, the animated series, and it's great. It's awesome. They have this antagonistic relationship, but it's fun, and they don't want to beat each other up. They just aren't friends, and they don't want to talk to each other. But they very quickly realize that they're on the same side. Like, it's not, I'm going to beat you up because you're an alien. It's just, it's so stupid. I encourage anyone who's interested in seeing Batman and Superman fight or meet ever, don't watch this movie. Watch the I think it's 3 episodes, the 3-episode crossover of Batman, the new animated adventures, and Superman, the animated series, where they meet for the first time. It's so good. It's so fun. And it's, to me, the definitive versions of those characters on screen. I love it. Man, I'm putting that below Man of Steel. Number 2. Batman. I'm already ranting. Batman versus Superman. It's not versus. It's Batman v Superman. Oh man, I'm getting so mad. Dawn of Justice. Dawn of Justice. Like, what is he? Oh, and then Wonder Woman shows up at the end of this. I'm not going to talk about that. Next movie came out the same year. Suicide Squad. It's number 3. It's number 3. This movie, for all the fanfare that the Snyder Cut got and all this stuff about release the Ayer cut, does anyone really want to see an alternate version of this movie? Does anyone really want to see that? Because I don't. Like, the Snyder Cut has started this weird thing where there's this idea that a director is a perfect genius who is the one who should have the final cut on a movie. When in most cases, that doesn't make sense, and that's not their job. Like, there's a reason that there's an Academy Award for editing that is separate from directing. You don't think about how well directed a movie is and think, oh yeah, the editing was really good. No, it's a different thing. If the editor is the director, then cool. But that's not what happens. And even in the Snyder Cut, I'm sure that at best, it's just Zack Snyder in the editing room helping the editor and like directing the editor, who is a separate person. This is not Zack Snyder with his hands on the mouse and keyboard making his Snyder Cut. That's not, if it is, then that's crazy and cool. Good job, Zack. But it's not. This is going to be a long episode of me being mad. Oh, man. I love DC Comics. I love the DC universe. It is heartbreaking to me. I need to preface this. It is heartbreaking to me, the state of the DC film world. I love these characters. I read the comics. I read them regularly. I stopped reading Batman recently, just to save money, but I still read Justice League. I read Action Comics, which is the Superman book. The movies just don't hold up, and it makes me sad. So when I rant about these movies, it's just because I am so much more passionate about them than I am about the Marvel ones. I'll still rant about them, I'm sure, but I so desperately love these characters and am so much more invested in them than I am in Marvel characters a lot of the time. So it just sucks that their movies aren't very good. But back to Suicide Squad. David Ayer, famously, this movie, the point that I was trying to get to before I went on this whole tirade about edits and stuff, whatever. I'm already at 20 minutes. This is going to be a full-length episode. Is that there's supposedly this movie was chopped up like crazy by the studio. I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it based on what happened to Justice League. This movie, I don't think could possibly be improved in any way. But, we were proved wrong with Justice League, I guess. It's just, well, when I say I don't think it could be improved, this movie could definitely be improved. It sucks. What I mean is that I don't think that a different David Ayer special edition could make it better somehow. I have my doubts. So he claims that the reason this movie sucks, and it does, is that the studio fudged with it a ton, and it's not his movie. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It sucks. It's not good. It's long, and it's boring, and the characters aren't interesting, except for Harley Quinn is fine. Deadshot is just generic. Sorry, Will Smith. It's true. Captain Boomerang is fun. Everybody else is just there for no reason. It introduces Jared Leto's Joker, which is terrible and shouldn't exist. What fun. This movie is bad. Number 3. Wonder Woman. Hey, look, a good one. Wonder Woman is good. 2017, directed by Patty Jenkins. Screenwriter Alan Heinberg. No idea who he is. Let's find out. Story by Zack Snyder and Alan Heinberg and Jason Fuchs. Produced by Charles Roven, Deborah Snyder, Zack Snyder, and Richard Suckle. I will add I'm using Wikipedia for all of this, so it might be totally inaccurate. Let's see what this guy's done. Oh, he's written comics. He wrote Young Avengers. Oh, he was the first one to have Wiccan and Hulkling. That's kind of cool. Looks like he's worked on a bunch of TV stuff I don't care about. And okay, so this is the only movie he's worked on. I have great confidence in this man. This movie's fine. It's not bad, but and when I say it's fine, it's good. I like it. It's fun. It's a good movie. I enjoy it. It's a good time. Gal Gadot is gorgeous and a fantastic actress. In this, at least, she's very good as Wonder Woman. I haven't seen her do, stellar regular movie work necessarily. Not to be pretentious. I'm not going to separate it out like Scorsese would. But I feel like there's definitely a difference in the kind of acting that you're doing in a superhero movie versus, well, we will say like a Scorsese movie. Like, it's not that it's a different caliber, but it's definitely a different style. So I haven't seen her do any like filmy film movies, but I think she would do good. I think she would be fine. But she's good as Wonder Woman. She's really good as Wonder Woman. I think this movie's very funny. The cast is great. Overall, I think this movie is really, really good. There's a lot of really good stuff to it. The cinematography is good. The action is actually very good. The only thing that lets it down, I think, is that third act is just kind of just big CGI fight that isn't very interesting. I don't know. I think that they were leading up to an interesting finale with it not actually being Ares that she's trying to hunt down, and her just finding out that the gods are not the cause and root of all evil. People can just suck. People can just not be good, We can have hope for people and we can believe that people can be good, but people can also be bad. And it's not because the gods have forced them to be bad. It's just because that's what we are. Not that those are necessarily my beliefs. We won't get into my philosophy. But in the universe of this movie, I think it would have been more interesting for her to get to that finale and to find out that this guy that she's been chasing is not, in fact, Ares, the god of war, but is just, evil and a bad man. And, killing Ares is not going to suddenly stop the war. Which, doesn't make sense. So I think that it kind of fumbles the game a little bit at the end there. But up until then, it's really good. The cast is really fun. David Thewlis is really good. I enjoy him always. Gal Gadot is great. Chris Pine is great. The woman that plays the little sidekick is really funny. The team of gentlemen are very fun. The little guy with the fez is in something else that I saw, and he was really good in it. I can't remember what. But they're all great. The Native American guy, he's really good too. I'm sorry, I don't have their names of the actors or the characters or anything. That doesn't show up on IMDb here. Not IMDb. Wikipedia here. Lo siento. Yeah, Wonder Woman. I think I'm going to put Wonder Woman at number 1. Take that, Superman. Okay, Wonder Woman is number 1. I like this movie. It's really good. It's probably the best one, at least that we've talked about so far. We'll see what I think as we go on. So right now, just a reminder, the ranking is number 1, Wonder Woman, number 2, Man of Steel, number 3, Batman v Superman, and number 4, Suicide Squad. Okay, 25 minutes. Let's talk about Justice League. This movie is awful. Oh wow, this came out in 2017 as well. How weird. What a weird time to exist. So the director is listed as Zack Snyder, which is weird. You would think that, there's a little addendum. What is it going to say? Let's find out. Snyder was the director during principal photography, but was replaced by Joss Whedon during post-production. Snyder retained directorial credit for the finished film. The reports have indicated Whedon reshot a majority of the film. Reports? Consequently, Snyder released a director's cut in 2021. Whatever reports are extremely accurate, because if you compare this to the Snyder cut, wow, it's not the same. So this movie was made in 2016, I guess is probably when it was shooting, 2015, 2016. And it was originally being directed by Zack Snyder. It was written by Chris Terrio, story by Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder. Chris Terrio is the same guy who started on this team with Dawn of Justice. So, this is not a guy that I have faith in. And they, like it says, they did finish all of principal photography. There was a few things they probably wanted to still do, but otherwise it was all done. And in the process of doing the movie, unfortunately, Zack Snyder's daughter took her own life. So, terrible tragedy. Snyder tries to use the work as like a I don't know about a coping mechanism. I guess that's one way to say it, but just like he was going to put his all in it for her. I think her name was Autumn, I believe. And so that was like his thing, is he was going to try to, do everything he could to make this movie as good as it was for her, as good as it could be for her. But it just began to be too much and he had to pull out. So that's when DC brings in brings in Joss Whedon, who famously directed The Avengers in 2012, as well as Age of Ultron in 2015. He's done lots of other stuff, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly. He's a bit of a controversial figure now, for reasons we'll probably get into at some point. But at this point, when I heard that news at first, I was like, oh, that's great. That'll be interesting. The guy who made The Avengers is the perfect person to make this movie. Turns out, no, very bad. If he was making this movie from scratch, perhaps, but he was not. He was taking what Zack Snyder put together and just chopping it into little bits and slapping it together in some order that vaguely made sense, adding really bad jokes, weird sexist jokes, just lots of garbage, completely changing the color grading, completely changing the story, completely changing the main villain, the design of the main villain, the motivations of the main villain. It's wild how different. Like when I watched the Snyder Cut for the first time, and there's stuff from Cyborg and Flash that are cut out. Like the things that are taken out of this movie and changed in this movie are unfathomable. Like I'm not a Zack Snyder fan, but it's crazy to me that the studio saw what he was putting together and said, no, we're going to do this instead. Like, I don't think that the Snyder Cut is perfect, but holy cow, it's a gazillion miles better than the 2017 Justice League. So this movie's bad. I feel like I can still enjoy it as like a stupid, like fun nonsense thing to make fun of. So I'm probably gonna put it above Suicide Squad. But yeah, I don't know. This movie's not good, and I would not watch it if I were you. I think you can just ignore it, and the whole universe still works and makes sense if you just watch Zack Snyder's Justice League as opposed to the 2017 theatrical version, Justice League number 4, which puts Suicide Squad at number 5. Neat. Okay. Next is Aquaman. I don't like this movie. Sorry, don't like it. Directed by James Wan, written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. Dude, chill out with your name. And Will Beal. Story by Jeff Johnson, James Wan, and Will Beal. Producers Peter Safran and Rob Cohen. So, my dislike for this movie stems from a few different things. Patrick Wilson is okay in everything he's ever done. I don't love Patrick Wilson. He's not bad, but his presence is neither a good thing or a bad thing. He is a neutral actor. Jason Momoa can be really good. Jason Momoa can be, I don't think really bad necessarily, but just nothing. And I don't like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Sorry. I like Aquaman. I think the idea that he's like this silly guy who talks to fish, like whatever. That's only from Super Friends. He's never been that in anything else ever. It just became a meme because of that one GIF with Super Friends of him riding on 2 dolphins or something, or seahorses. I don't know. He's a cool character. He's an interesting, cool character with an interesting, cool world built up around him. So it's unfortunate that he was been made into such a joke that DC felt they had to turn him into this cool Wolverine type character. And I just don't think it works. It just seems so dumb to me. This like loner, cool guy version of Aquaman. I don't care. I'm so uninterested in this. And this movie tries to kind of backtrack that a little bit. Like everything post Dawn of Justice kind of feels like it's trying to not be Zack Snyder. Even, Wonder Woman, which is still very much in that world, and Zack Snyder had a hand in writing. But I don't know. Also, like literally, I watched this movie with my parents. I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it with my parents. And after it ended, I turned to my dad. My mom had already gone upstairs. I don't think she even finished the movie with us. She went to bed. Which is not a testament to the movie as much as my mom's ability to stay awake. I turned to my dad when this movie ended and said something to the effect of, how much can fantastic visual effects and super fun fight scenes save a terrible script and bad acting? And the answer is not enough. That's what I will say for this movie. James Wan has done some Fast and Furious movies, I believe, as well as, the Conjuring movies, which is where we get, Patrick Wilson, probably their buddies. But yeah, so this movie has really fun action in it. It's got really fun action in it. The CG is fantastic. It's a very visually, aesthetically pleasing movie. The acting is bad. The story is bad. I don't want to say the directing is bad, but I'm sorry, James. But it's so good. Oh man. There's so many weird tonal shifts. The thing that sticks out the most to me, or stuck out when I watched it the most, was like they have to go Mira. Oh, I didn't even think about Mira. Ugh. Mira and Arthur, Aquaman, have to go on a quest to find some special artifact. I don't even remember. And they go to like Morocco or something, and they hate each other. They just hate each other. They think each other is stupid, and they want nothing to do with each other. They're only here because they're on the same mission. They're not going to fall in love at all because they hate each other. And then they go to this little village, and the aspect ratio changes, and the sound completely cuts out. This sequence is silent, except for music. There's no sound effects, and there's no dialogue. There's no Foley or anything. It's just music and acting. And it's like, it suddenly becomes this awful, cheesy, romantic movie. And Arthur like gives her a flower or something, and it's just weird. Like, what a strange tonal shift. Like, what is this? And it just stuck out to me. Like, this is a different movie inserted in the middle of this. And then there's a big cool fight scene. Like, it's so weird. And then he gets the cool armor at the end, the cool Aquaman armor, and I love it. And now they're just getting rid of it in the next one immediately, it looks like. So that's cool. I love merchandising and how it's ruined having good comic book costumes. Because every single movie, we have to have a new comic book costume, and it can't just be the cool one that we got at the end of the last movie that we just get to see for 5 seconds. We have to get something new and different every single movie. Makes me mad. Oh my gosh. Some characters you can pull that off. Iron Man, you can pull that off. Iron Man, it makes sense in character. It makes sense in character for Iron Man. Batman, no. Spider-Man, no. Superman, no. Aquaman, no. Wonder Woman, no. Ant-Man, maybe. The Hulk? He's just a green guy. It's fine. It's fine, everyone. I don't care. I don't care. I'm happy for small iterations that improve a costume. Look at the original Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire. You would be like, I would understand if you thought all 3 of those movies had the same costume. Every single one of them are different. And I'm not talking about the black suit. Every single one of those movies has a different costume. They all follow the same design language, though. The first one is the first iteration. If you look at it, it's really janky. What you're used to seeing is the suit from Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. That's what's on all the promotional material. Notably, and most specifically, you're most likely seeing more of Spider-Man 2 than either one of the others. The improvement between 1 and 2 is huge. The spider is different, the eyes are different, the shape of the head is different, the webs are a little bit different, the colors are different, and like the blue is more muted and the red is a deeper red. And then in the third one, the spider is once again a little bit different. The eyes are not a different shape, but they are a slightly different color. And this is something that only someone like me who has to draw these things will notice. But that's the point. These small iterations slowly improve these costumes and make them better over time without completely changing the design language of the character and without making this just be a thing that happens that you have to come up with some story conceit for because you just want to sell toys. I guarantee they did not sell any fewer toys. And guess what? If you go back to like the old Batman movies, Batman 89, Batman whatever, they still sold weird random Batman toys. I have weird Batman toys from the Dark Knight movies where he's got different gadgets and different colored costumes because you still can do that. You still can make your crappy weird merchandising stuff to have a bunch of different versions that the kids want and still just have it be the one thing in the movies. The best version of this iteration is in fact in the Dark Knight, where in the first Batman you have this gorgeous suit. But then in the second one, they wanted to iterate it. They wanted to change it. So what did they do? They built it into the story, but in a way that made sense narratively, where they have this whole opening sequence where Bruce is fighting with these different guys, guys selling drugs, the scarecrow toxins. And he gets kind of beat up because he can't turn his neck around, which is kind of an in-joke with the Batman stuff because Batman's mask has always been traditionally attached to his shoulders. So you get this thing where he would have to turn around with his whole body and look with his whole body. So he gets attacked from behind because he can't turn around fast enough. So they build it into the movie that he wants more mobility. So they make the new suit that is then more vulnerable in certain ways and everything. And they explain that in universe. And that's amazing. You don't even need to do that, though. If you're going to change it that much, you do need to do that. But I think the best thing is just to make the suit and then slowly iterate it like they did in the Raimi movies or like they do in the old Superman movies. It's not the exact same suit every single time. It's slightly different. So that's my rant. I'm just tired of Spider-Man getting a new costume every single movie. And if he gets a brand new costume at the beginning or the middle of the next one, and doesn't get to keep the perfect one they just debuted, I'm going to start something that I will finish, and that's a revolution. I'm going to be mad. I don't know how long I've been talking about this, but it's too long. Aquaman. This is kind of tough, actually. Would I rather watch Batman versus Superman or Aquaman? I would easily rather watch Batman versus Superman. But would I rather watch Aquaman or Justice League? That is very difficult. Oh, man. I think Aquaman. I'll say Aquaman. Okay, next. Shazam. I'll just speed this up. I don't want to be here too much longer. I want to go to bed. Shazam! That was a joke because he's a lightning man. Shazam, directed by, I said it again. Came out in 2019, directed by David F. Sandberg, written by Henry Gayden, and produced by Peter Safran. I like this one a lot. This is a really good movie. It's really fun, starring Zachary Levi as the big grown-up version of the character Shazam. This movie's really good. It's got some not amazing cinematography, but the villain is convincing. He's convincingly threatening, menacing. The hero is really fun. All the main characters are really fun. The ending is a little bit like Power of Friendship, but it works. It's a good time. This movie's a very good time. I would suggest this 100%. I'm very excited to see what they do with the next one. Also very nervous because I do not trust DC. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I would highly suggest it. I'm going to put it... I'm gonna put it below just because I love Superman so much. I'm gonna put it below Man of Steel, but above Dawn of Justice. Shazam. Now we have Birds of Prey. Okay, so Birds of Prey, directed by Kathy Yan, written and story by Christina Hodson, produced by Margot Robbie, who is of course Harley Quinn. Then Brian Unkelis, and Sue Kroll. This movie's fine. Came out in 2020. What a year. I have mixed feelings about this movie. A lot of people think that it's like the best one of the DCEU. I don't know. I think it's good. It's not amazing. It continues this thing of having weird, different characterizations of the heroes and villains from the comics. I really would just like to see these characters done well on screen in a way that they are like they are in the comics. And even where the characters differ in the MCU, they still feel like those characters for the most part, other than like Zemo is very different, I would say. But I don't know. They just changed so many things. Black Canary is very different. She's still very good, though. She's probably the most forgivable one in this. I think that Black Mask is Ewan McGregor is fantastic always. Black Mask is okay. I was not expecting the way that he ended up in the end of this movie to happen, and it did. I feel like it was just for shock value more than any other purpose. Girl power, I guess. Girls get it done. The Boys. It's probably a confusing sentence if you haven't seen The Boys. But I don't know. Margot Robbie's good. I don't love her Harley Quinn. I just don't love the character of Harley Quinn that much. The cartoon is fun. I like the cartoon quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. This movie is like visually overstimulating. Like there's a lot happening a lot of the time, and not in a good way. Some of the fight scenes are really well done, and the rest are very bad. The final fight scene with like the roller skates and stuff, very bad. The one in the jail with the fire alarms, very fun. Like this movie gets a lot of stuff very good and a lot of other stuff very bad. It's a very mixed bag, but I'm still going to put it above Dawn of Justice and below Shazam. Birds of Prey. Next, Wonder Woman 84. This movie is something. It exists. This is what I'll say about Wonder Woman 84. It's not good. It's not a good movie. It is fun. It feels like a fun, stupid superhero movie. And I like that. I enjoy that. I don't need it to make perfect sense. I don't need it to be super realistic. I don't need it to be super dark. I don't need it to be super grounded. I just want to have fun. And after having such a bad time in the DC universe for so long, watching Wonder Woman 84, despite its many flaws, which we've also talked about on this show, I just had fun with it. I had a good time. It felt like the Richard Donner Superman movies. The plot is not incredible. The logic isn't there. Things don't make sense. But it's fun. It's kind of goofy, and it's fun. What's wrong with fun, DC? The comic books are fun. What is wrong with having fun? Superman can have fun too. He's Superman. He has fun. I'm actually getting kind of sad now because Superman doesn't get to have fun. Man. Oh. I'm having a lot of emotions this episode. Wonder Woman 1984 has a lot of flaws. Pedro Pascal is really good in it. He's so good. Everywhere. Gal Gadot is amazing. She's so good. The story is not as good as the first one, and I think that's because it was written by Patty Jenkins, who I don't think is probably a great writer. She's a passable director, as the first one showed, but I don't think that she should write it. So if she's writing the third one, I'm a little concerned. It's fine, though. It's a good time. Zack Snyder likes it, so screw you, Zack Snyder cult. Oh man, where did I put this movie? I'm gonna put it below Shazam. I don't know what this voice is that I keep doing. Hello. Wonder Woman. Woman 84. Okay, the Steve Trevor body switching thing is weird. Just bring him back. There's no reason to have this weird body switching thing. It doesn't make sense. We talked about that in the episode, I think, about the way that I would have changed that to make it better and make more sense. That honestly, on its own, is enough of a change to make that movie vastly better. Why don't they have me do these movies, you know? What's up with that? Zack Snyder's Justice League. This movie's good. Listen, people, I'll tell you right now, this is taking the number one slot. I don't think it's amazing, but none of these movies are amazing. So, sorry. ZSJL. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's a miracle this movie's good. Zack Snyder has, made a career out of making bad or okay movies. So it's crazy that this one is pretty dang good. Visually, it's very good. It's, 4:3 to preserve his artistic intent. Cool, whatever, I guess. It's fine. In a lot of ways, just everything about this movie, especially when you're comparing it to the 2017 movie, is incredibly different and incredibly better. The CG is impressive for having been done in such a short amount of time. There's certain bits that are kind of janky, but Steppenwolf looks amazing, and I'm sure it looks like that's where most of the work went for that. The story is pretty good, and this movie made me want to see what Zack Snyder would do next, what he would do with Justice League movies. I don't really care to see what he's going to do with individual characters as much as I would just watch, a series of Zack Snyder Justice League movies. Even if it's just in their own universe, I would watch that. For sure. There's a lot that I could say about this, but we've done a whole episode on it. So you can go back and listen to that if you want to know what I think about it. It's going to take the number one spot though right now. And we have one more movie, everyone. Pretty much right on time, 49 minutes, hot dog. And the last movie is The Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. Directed by James Gunn. Came out in 2021. This is a really good movie. I don't know if I like it more than the Snyder Cut. I think this is a really tough choice, but I think just because I love the characters, I love the Justice League characters. When I say Justice League, I don't mean specifically Zack Snyder as much as just the characters, like the comic book characters, that team. I like them a lot more than I care about the Suicide Squad at all. But this movie is very good. I'm going to put it at number 2. The Suicide Squad. This movie is very well done. James Gunn is fantastic. I'm glad that Marvel fired him for 5 minutes because otherwise he probably wouldn't have been able to do this movie. I would say probably, I mean definitely. He would not have been able to do this movie, and we would not have been blessed with this fantastic film and the many things that he's seeming to do with DC in the future. Guy's a great director, great writer. This is a man who did direct, screenwrite, and do the story. This is the only person, he's the only person who has done this, besides, I guess, David Ayer did the same thing for Suicide Squad, except that it got janked up, whatever. That's kind of ironic. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on, check it out. Did you like that voice crack? I did. But yeah, this movie is really good. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's definitely a rated R. So if you are not into that, don't. If you think it's going to be just like the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not. It's really not. If you're going into this thinking that it's even just Guardians of the Galaxy rated R, it's not. It's very different. It's still a ragtag team, sure, but it's very different. This movie left a good taste in my mouth, and I'm really hoping that we can continue that trend, but I'm doubting it. What's coming up, everyone, you ask? What's coming up in the DC cinematic universe? Future films. First, let's go through what we got here. So here's our ranking of all 11 currently released films. In 11th place, Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer. At number 10, Justice League, directed by Joss Whedon. The Justice League, some would say. At number 9, Aquaman, James Wan. Number 8, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder. Number 7, who directed Birds of Prey? It's Birds of Prey, directed by Kathy Yan. Number 6, Wonder Woman 84, Patty Jenkins. Number 5, Shazam, David Sandberg. Number 4, Man of Steel, Zack Snyder. Number 3, Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins. Number 2, The Suicide Squad, James Gunn. And as much as it pains me to say it, number 1, Zack Snyder's Justice League, James Gunn. No, Zack Snyder. Yep. That's the one. So yeah, that's my definitive ranking. And if you think I'm wrong, too bad. I'm right. So here's what's coming next, guys. We got Black Adam coming in 2022, starring The Rock, directed by Wame Gole Serra. Yame. No idea. Oh, this guy directed House of Wax, a remake of House of Wax, that Orphan movie, and The Shallows. So basically, the guy directing Black Adam has made a bunch of bad movies. That's cool. Flash being directed by Andy Muschietti, who did the It movies. That gives me hope. Michael Keaton gives me hope. Everything else does not. I don't like Ezra Miller at all in anything. I find him extremely annoying, and I don't think he's a very good actor. Sorry. Hopefully that'll be good. I'm excited for Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck and nothing else about that. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, directed again by James Wan. All these movies are coming this year. That's insane. Written again by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. Jeez, that's a name. Story by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick and Jason Momoa. That's interesting. I don't think we know really anything about this movie. He's got a fancy blue suit. That's what made me upset earlier. Sorry about that. Then we have the Batgirl movie, which was gonna be on HBO, but I think is now going to be in theaters. Starring the girl who is in the Heights. I can't remember her name, but she looks like she's going to be really good. Directed by Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah. Are these the guys who did the new Bad Boys? Yes, they are. Heard that was fine. This might be good. I don't know. It's filming right now. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. David F. Sandberg again. Henry Gayden again. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. Blue Beetle. Directed by Angel Manuel Soto. That's all that he has about him. Interesting. That might be good too. That was also one that was supposedly going direct to HBO. We'll see what happens with that. Blue Beetle's a fun character. It'll be cool if we get a Ted Kord inclusion. You would think that we would to some degree. But who knows? I look forward to all of these things except for most of them. Well, everyone, that has been my ranking of the DC movies. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't. If you like the show, thanks for liking it. Tell everyone about it. Tell them to listen to it. Check me out on Instagram at mparish_art and at cinemaloungepod at gmail.com and on Instagram. And King Scubdo on Twitch and the Great Scubdo on the YouTube. And I'm tired, guys. I didn't want to do this. And it made me mad and sad. That's been the show. I've been Marshall.